thing on? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to all of our fellow Acadians out there. I just wanted to, check in here and, just explain to you about some important news coming within, like, today or tomorrow, coming up as well. So, we all know that Acadia is on the independence journey from Acadia and all that, so we have this. But there is going to be a declaration called the Balfour Declaration, happening tomorrow. And, it's gonna be some, new rules for Acadia and that, going into the, 2026 and whatnot. So, we're going to be pretty excited to see those come up. Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you what they are, but, they're going to be some pretty good rules. So that's the first thing I just wanted to talk about. Second thing is also good news. OWW2 is over. So the over World War II has officially come to a close as of this morning, as of 10 a.m. We're going to be shutting down the guns. There's still a little bit of fighting going on, but the war is basically over. There's nothing more to it. So all the countries have did peace. So we should be living happier ever after in that. Is there anything else I want to say on that topic? Not really. Right. So that's number 2. Number 3 is maybe not such good news, but I'm going to give you 2 anyway. So, okay, alright. Fabian Donaldson wants to call another election this year. Probably around the same time as, the usual. First day of June is going to be election day. It's actually going to be Thursday and Friday. Wednesday and Thursday are actually going to be election day, because now we have the new law that legally you have to have your polls open for 2 days, because everybody has to vote, unless you're an illegal alien. Because I remember back on the 27th of October, the Liberals were winning, but then they had to go for, because they had voter ID, they had secret voter ID at that, so you weren't as anonymous as you thought. And because there were so many illegals voting Liberal, they had to kind of discount the votes, and that's how he stole the election. Same thing in 2022. There was actually kind of a ballot list too, although the 2022 election was more rigged. And that's what I want to talk about, because I have no idea how Donaldson's going to rig the 2026 election, but let's just talk about how the 2022 election was actually rigged and how Makey actually got his vote in. So in 2022, we were coming out of over World War I, which was not a really good conflict. And I think the Liberals would have still been in the lead. However, though, we were, just kind of tired of wartime production and all that. So I don't know. However, though, what I would like to let's just talk about how this was rigged, how Makey won. So, back in 2022, which is about 4 years ago, obviously, we were, we had a trade deal with the, country of Ventrosolo, which is long forgotten, which was a huge thing in 2022. It ended in 2022 as well, but, Acadia Ventrosolo. So, in 2021, Brian Turner, discovered Ventrosolo, and, they had a lot of diamonds, in their country. They had a lot of, diamonds in the usual spots you find, and also a lot of good structures. So, what, Turner wanted to do, they didn't want to invade them, but they just wanted to, do a deal with them, or a trade deal, or whatever you wanted to call it. Some sort of trade deal thing. So, in turn, what actually happened was that it was slowly building up eventually, the thing, but It was blocked by Ventroslo's empires, because their empires were kind of, restricting Ventroslo from doing some stuff too. But if you wanted to put that into perspective, you would look that Ventroslo has, now gone out of a purge with some of this, so. And then I think it was declared on January 18th, 2022, that Ventroslo wanted to sign this deal with Acadia, which they did sign, that they would be trading partners for lifetime, and that, they would have some of them the similar social security programs, all that good stuff of that Acadia had at that time. It is a little bit different from what it was back in 2022, obviously, but yeah. The main problem with this Ventroslo thing was that there was blockages from on our side by Ansevia, New Amistad, and Armenia, because we could not get through without them finding out. And if we did find out, then it would be very devastating to our economy. It would be devastating to Ventroslo's economy. It would not go well for Acadia. And Turner did an okay job at handling that. However, though, in Ventroslo, they were a bit more careful with how they handled it. Prime Minister at that time, Mark Salisbury was the Prime Minister at the time of this. And he was a pretty charismatic guy, to be honest with you. And in fact, I actually went to Ventroslo in 2022 when I met him. It was only 5 minutes conversation, but yeah. And aside from that, you have, I think what I've also wanted to, say too was that, so, Ventroslo, yeah. And on Ventroslo's side, there was a lot of blockages from about, I'd say, 7 different countries. We had, I'm not going to name the 7 countries because I forgot what they were, but they were Ventroslo's one gnome empire, so. Curriculum might have been also one of the blockages too, because, again, Curriculum kind of knew about this, but, yeah. And Brian Turner was in power for the majority of this. And then we had the election in June. And that's when Mark Mackey said, okay, I don't like the way I failed in the 2018 election, so we're going to rig it. So Mark Mackey made a bunch of lies about Ventroslo. So what he'd do is he'd install these weird, security blockages. This is what Mark Mackey said in his debate speech back in May 2022. So he said, okay, so to enhance the best security for the Acadia-Ventroslo Pact, we are going to install security blockage things, or whatever they're called, in both Acadia and Ventroslo's, and we're going to fund some of our money into that to keep the trade deal ethnic and keep both countries united. And the Acadian people loved this idea, because they also would love Ventroslo. And then there's also a few other things to that, too. I think there was one that they wanted to, limit the amount of blockages from the imperial powers, too. I think is what Mackey said, too. He was going to try to fight them to get Ventroslo happy, to get Acadia happy. All that good stuff. And Mackey kind of actually did that, actually. Although the Empire blockages fought hard, real hard. Because he was making good progress, actually. Now, we had the election in 2022. Mackey won. A minority, but that's alright. And then I think about 3 weeks later, Ventroslo was announcing that they would have to close their trade deal with Acadia in the near future, because they wanted to, I think their government wanted them to, just go somewhere, they did have a bunch of other imperial states that were, somewhat Electricia-like, I don't know, but, alright. What else was I gonna say? Okay, so Ventroslo, I think it kept till mid-July, and then the thing died out because of the Empire fought hard. Mark Mackey didn't know what to do, And that was Mark Meady's main promise, and he rigged the election by doing that. He also rigged the election by, being loyal to New Ambleside and Armenia and all that. Sort of. And that promise did not go well. He did not follow that promise. And that was also another, deciding factor of whether or not Mackey would win the 2022 election, which he did. And, yeah. Also, he wanted to, step up the claim of other countries to do a similar thing, and that went less well. We all know from one of those other countries, too. They're governed by legals, but, wanted to do trade deal with Acadia, but Mackey accepted and then declined, because, yeah, we're not going to accept that stuff in 2026. Come on, we're smarter than that now. Yeah. So I think that's all for that, yeah. But that was the only really big power we had to, actually win that 2022 election, to rig it. And I was so glad that he did, because it just, yeah. And we need someone like that to rig an election. And in October 2025, what rigged the election was Mackey's independence promise. And in 2026, that same tactic may not work because of Uncivia's, treating Acadia like they're literally part of Uncivia type of thing, that, as we saw on Monday, if the news saw. All that good stuff. So I don't think that's going to work. However, there's going to be another rig somewhere. I don't know. I have no idea how Donaldson's going to rig the 2026 election, but buddy, I don't know why you want to call this election, because if you lose, guess what happens to your country? Your country is dead. So, if you want to have this election, you got to figure out a way to rig it. And the election in 2025 wasn't rigged. Because Mackey didn't even need to. Everybody was so pro-Mackey that, yeah. So if you really wanted to say rig, you could say illegal aliens to get deported, and maybe the Martian Empire, all that good stuff. But that might be the way that they're gonna rig these elections this year. I have no idea. But either way, we hope that Kyle Duggan doesn't win, because he's exactly like Brian Turner. So yeah, we'll check on the ball for decoration a bit. We'll check on all that stuff, and I'll update you if there's anything else that needs to be explained. But yeah, thank you for coming along today and yeah, participating. So stay safe, stay legal, and respect us. See you in the next one.